Hi there. Welcome to Scriptorium, the McLuhan Institute Live, a second installment. Hopefully this is going a little better. There we are. That should be a little bit better. As I was saying, welcome to the Scriptorium Live, TMI number 2. I'll get the hang of this eventually. What we're doing here is we're in the library of Eric McLuhan, and I am inventorying his books. There are somewhere around 6,000 of them, and I'm only a few hundred in, not very far. I've been doing it a few hours, one night a week when I can, which hasn't been quite every week, but we're making progress. Currently, we are doing the collection, The Great Books of the World, which was a University of Chicago collection from early 50s, Chicago collection from early 50s, 1951. As I mentioned last week, this was a project, this collection, that Marshall was trying to get the editorial control over, but it went to somebody else. Mortimer Adler is listed here as associate editor, Wallace Brockway is executive. This is an interesting one. This is The Critique of Pure Reason and Other one. This is The Critique of Pure Reason and Other Ethical Treatises, The Critique of Judgment by Immanuel Kant. So, how this goes is, make a note of the shelf, 3D, and its title, The Critique, Pure Reason, Critique of Judgment, and Immanuel Kant is the author. It's hardcover. It is in good condition. Chicago Encyclopedia Britannica Incorporated, 1952. The next part of the spreadsheet I work off has a place to note if there's an ownership. Marshall or my dad Eric would often put their name in the book and where they bought it, what year, the place. That's not the case here. This would have been Marshall's set, but Dad kept it behind. Here at the back we have a single annotation. Metwurf is page 254, 258. Let's see what that's about. Fundamental principles of the metaphysic of morals. But there's no further, 245. Which is in The Critique of Pure Reason. And here we have a passage selected. It starts, in view of the complete systematic unity of reason, there can only be one ultimate end of all the operations of the mind. To this, all other aims are subordinate and nothing more than means for its attainment. The ultimate end is the destination of man, and the philosophy which relates to it is termed moral philosophy. Okay. Moral philosophy then. In any case, this is not what we would call a heavily annotated book, and there's nothing stuck in there. So I'll make a note that there is minimal notation, and we move on. Next up, American State Papers, The Federalist by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay. And On Liberty, Representative Government and Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. These books are kind of condensed on a few different subjects. This is number 43 in the series. Okay. Here I'm just making a note of all the titles here for future reference. And the authors, Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay, John Stuart Mill. Hardcover, good condition, Chicago Encyclopedia Britannica, 1952. And there's a bookmark in here. I don't have time to spend flipping through every single page to make sure I'm not missing something, but here there's a bookmark in Utilitarianism, Its Meaning. And there's a passage selected, which starts, next to selfishness, the principal cause which makes life unsatisfactory is want of mental cultivation. A cultivated mind, I do not mean that of a philosopher, but any mind to which the fountains of knowledge have been opened, and which has been taught in any tolerable degree to exercise its faculties, finds sources of inexhaustible interest in all that surrounds it. Interesting. Oh, these are notes by Eric McLuhan. This is Literacy 451. And that's where that bookmark was. And then Lumber 450. Okay, sure. Moving on. When I have 6,000 books to go through, I can't obviously spend the longest time on each book as much as I would like to. I'm going to take you through this for about 15 minutes. I figure any more than that would bore you all stiff, and it'll give you a general idea of what's happening. I plan to do this every week that I'm in here, and hopefully there'll be something more exciting one of these times. This could be that time, because here we have Life of Samuel Johnson by James Boswell. And there seems to be a lot happening here, so give me a second. Life of Samuel Johnson, Boswell. It's a hardcover. It is in good condition, Chicago. This is great because I'm not actually talking to myself, I'm talking to you, which is a nice change. I've been a little bit lonely up in here, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you can see, but there are a few things poking out here, various bookmarks in the back. No further notes on the end papers, so let's see what the bookmarks have to say. Dean Koontz, Fear Nothing. There's some Greek, I don't know, nothing really marked there. This is very typical. So here, between page 36 and 37, we have something pulled from the Globe and Mail, Toronto Globe and Mail, Saturday, February 17th, 2001. Biography, Rehabilitating Boswell, A Man for Our Times. It's a review of a life of James Boswell, contained in Boswell's Life of Samuel Johnson by Peter Martin, reviewed by André Alexis. And this is very typical of what Marshall and then my dad did when they would come across something which had some bearing on any given book. It would get tucked in. And I'm not sure exactly why it was here, and we're not going to spend a long time pondering that. And here we have what was that hand? Was apparently a napkin. And it's between pages 312 and 313. But there's no marks or notes or anything like that. Over there on the shelf there is Boswell's Life of Johnson, which I haven't gotten to yet. But one of these weeks maybe you'll see it. Next we have, first I'm going to make a note that there's a review of a Boswell biography. From 2001. That could be, my dad had these books for a long time. Maybe he was revisiting it in 2001. Who knows? This is Lavoisier, Fourier, and Farraday, Elements of Chemistry, Analytical Theory of Heat, Experimental Researches in Electricity. Cool. If there's anything you can say about these libraries, Marshall's and Eric's, they are eclectic. Of course, there's a little more to it than that. And that's Lavoisier, Fourier, and Farraday. There's a lot of things you can say about this library. I think the most surprising thing is how alive it is. You think a collection of books is, a collection of paper, dead trees, right? But there's a lot more to it than that, especially in books like most of these, which are annotated. They've had a lot of time spent with them. They've sparked joy, as it were. Not just joy, but sparked insight and developments. And I find that I got to know Marshall very personally through his books, and I've already learned stuff about Eric, my dad, that I didn't know or realize. It's very personal. All right. So first of all, we have This is Dad. This is a Burger King receipt. I can't tell where it's from. Two burgers, small fries, medium Pepsi. $3.41. There you go. Is there a date? No. Anyway. Is there anything else tucked in here? No, just that receipt. But here's a note, not in the back page here, but the next page in. You make that out? Says 1 period TOC, think in words only. Now, TOC means theory of communication. That's a short form for that. And 1, I'm guessing it's book 1, which is Elements of Chemistry by Antoine Laurent Lavoisier. Think in words only. Let's go back to that bookmark and see if there's anything here about that. This is Fourier. There's no hint as to what that's about. And like I said, I can't spend too much time. As interested I am in finding out whose theory of communication he's talking about there. Theories of Communication was a project. Eric managed to put this book out with Peter Lang in 2011 called Theories of Communication, and it was a collection of essays. One of several projects that Marshall had underway was to determine various authors' theories of communication. It's a really interesting book. It's more than a very interesting book, actually. It's a very valuable book, especially when you look at the chapter titled Marshall McLuhan's Theory of Communication. There's a whole lot of work to be done in that. Dad just kind of opened the lid on it. Anyway, so they were always going through and trying to determine what, any given person's theory of communication was. I don't remember their definition or methodology off the top of my head, so if you're interested, go check that out. And that's probably a good place to leave it because I'm over 15 minutes. So thank you for joining me today, and you can support work like this by visiting my Patreon page, patreon.com/McLuhan, and that will help me get in here more often and do this work and build the McLuhan Institute.